In case y'all don't know, those are some of our players right in the front being very loud. No, I just wanted to say a quick welcome. Thank you guys so much for coming to this panel. It is hosted by Star Trek Fleet Command, but don't worry, it is not a gaming panel. We have two very special guests with us. Joining us today are Tim Russ and Garrett Wang.
Two picks, Tim!
All week.
I'm gonna hear that in my sleep.
Whew. Thank you. Did you guys know that this is day 7 of the cruise?
It is. They could actually, there's so many different chants. You could mix it together. Two pip, two vok.
That doesn't work quite as well.
Oh. Quite
Day 7 already.
How about two Kim? Kimvix.
Oh no, we don't need another.
Oh my God, we're really going on a niche.
Yeah.
Kimvix.
Yeah, day 7, it has gone pretty quick.
It has.
The fastest ever, right?
Wow, yeah. But man, I'm just so thrilled that the seas have been completely calm. There's no storms, no rain, no craziness, and the weather's been just perfect. I mean, you can't beat this.
Yeah.
Cannot beat it.
And the stability of the ship, not a lot of rocking and rolling.
Like a rock, man. There's nothing at all. Yeah.
Nothing. It's been very, very pleasant. I've been very excited. This is my first ever Star Trek cruise, actually.
Wow.
And I don't know how many of y'all have been on this before. There's been the joke of why keep it a secret. No, I've heard about it. It's just the first time I've been able to make it over here. So very, very excited, and especially because I don't think I mentioned this back there, but Voyager is actually my favorite series.
Oh,
thank you.
Really?
It is, absolutely. I've gone to all of the trivias. I've been very upset to only get 19 out of 20 correct on some of those.
Oh my God.
So, very, very big fan.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, just be honest, between Tuvok
Oh no.
and Kim, who ranks higher in your level of...
Am I allowed to answer this?
I'm not going to ask you that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No.
No. Oh, okay.
I gotta say, first of all, just very quickly, I think everyone has nice elbow room because a lot of people thought this was a panel about Starfleet Command, the video game, and it's actually sponsored by them, correct?
Correct.
Okay, is there anything we have to talk, there's a few things to talk about that, right?
Yes, at the end we'll talk a little bit. We'll show you what's coming up next month because we actually have a new launch on Tuesday. I was just telling y'all back there, but for those who don't know, we were also celebrating 30 years of Voyager in-game for the last 2 months, and we concluded that during the cruise this week. So we were celebrating in-game at the same time as celebrating here on the ship. So we'll have a brief minute and a half at the very end, but this is about you guys.
So what is
nice?
And on that, who the voices and things, the characters, are those all characters that we recognize from the franchise, or as far as the characters in the game itself? Because I know I worked on one of the earlier games.
Star Trek Online.
Yeah, Star Trek Online.
Yeah.
So is this one similar to that? Is that?
We don't put your voices in this one, but the entire, from all of the different Star Trek series, all of the different characters are all in our game.
Wow.
And actually, there are a couple of versions of some of y'all. In fact, this past...
Kim gets morale!
Yes. Harry Kim is in the game. Tuvok has 2 characters inside of our game.
Tim and I are both like, why didn't you call us to do our voices? Excuse me?
Nobody called me.
We'll talk.
Yeah, what's going on here?
No.
Can you imagine if they just hire some random guy in the street to do Tuvok that's like going through puberty? He's like, that's not logical, Captain. That's Tuvok. That's my Tuvok.
Captain, we got a problem or some space anomaly.
Oh my God.
What the hell? That's not me.
Who'd they get? Yeah, just kidding.
No.
Go ahead.
It is your likeness. No voices. We cannot replace your voices, of course.
Thank you.
But our writers on the game, they make missions, and they work actually directly with Paramount on making sure that everything stays in line with Star Trek.
Excellent.
So before we dive into all of the questions, I do want to do a real quick thank you. First off to ECP for putting together such an amazing week. This has been phenomenal, incredible. So thank you, ECP. Thank you for having us here. Of course, a big shout out to Paramount. And also, I want to thank our players. There's several down here. So thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for telling me about this cruise. Yes, thank you. And then also, we've got our official podcasters here, Talking Trek Podcast. Huge shout out to them. I don't know if y'all have seen a couple of gentlemen running around with cameras and getting some extra footage and putting a lot of things online. So huge shout out to them as well. So thank you guys. So we were talking a little bit backstage and also throughout the week, because I've had the benefit of running into you multiple times throughout this week, which I did not expect.
Yes.
First up, Garrett, I had no idea, number one, that you did comedy. And we were just chatting. I didn't know that he doesn't do this anywhere else. He does this here on the cruise. And it kind of blows my mind. It was my first comedy show.
You're so good!
Well, there you go. Apparently very, very good. And you, during that comedy show, you were sharing a lot of stories. And I was curious, is there a story that you've always wanted to share that you've never had a chance to share because no one's asked you about it?
Oh.
Has there ever been something you're just like, oh, I wish someone would just ask me about this one?
Really, except for I thought it was it's not a story, it just came to mind. I was dreaming that JT would come online in the morning and make an announcement and he's going to say, good morning everyone on Star Trek Cruise, JT here. Just want to say there's a very special announcement. Garrett Wang's mother will be coming back next year as a guest, and Garrett will not be.
I love it. Also, fun fact, we were running around doing trivia and ran into the folks that gave your mother their address. And I don't know if y'all heard that story.
Yes.
We did in fact run into them, and they were showing us their cards of a very, very cool, it was a statue, monument, or... Indiana.
That was Mary Beth in Indiana. She's gotten a couple people's addresses. She's been invited by actually even more after the comedy show.
Of course.
She has a lot of invitations, and she does plan on trying to visit everyone. So that is what my mom does.
We all appreciate your mother very, very much.
Fans have been coming up to me. I saw your mom. She showed me your baby photos.
Oh, no.
I'm in the Windjammer. They go, he showed me your baby photos. I go, no, she did not. Oh my God.
No.
And this other guy goes, he was joking. He was like, yeah, I know you have a birthmark on your ass. So he was joking, but in reality, he's right. I do have a birthmark on my right upper butt cheek. And they say that birthmarks are basically your past life, how you met your demise. So if you have a big birthmark on your chest, you're probably shot by an arrow or something like that, right? So I kept thinking, there's no vital organs where the butt is.
Yes,
you can shoot it, you can like put an arrow through it, you're still gonna survive.
You know what happened.
I know what happened. So the person at the table goes, it was a blow dart tipped with poison. I go, that's fair enough. That'll work.
Oh goodness gracious. I was not prepared for that. It's not on my cue cards. No, and then you've talked a lot about your podcast as well.
Yes.
Do you want to give a quick little shout out? No?
No, I mean, everyone knows I just say thank you if you've been tuning into the Delta Flyers. If you have not, the Delta Flyers is a podcast with Robbie, Tom Paris, and I, and we talk about all the behind the scenes of every Voyager episode, which we completed. Tim Russ graciously has appeared on a lot of our podcast episodes, so thank you to you, Tim.
My pleasure.
Yep. We are now into DS9, so if you haven't heard it, it's everywhere. On your Apple device, your Android device, you can find it. But I really want to know, you asked me, is there any story that I wanted to say that I haven't talked about? I'm curious if Tim ever has anything story-wise that he's never shared that he...
Yeah, and I mean, as far as, the stories that I've talked about in the various conventions and stuff over the years, there hasn't really been anything in terms of that was outrageous or crazy or things like that. I think there was a moment there was something that was very poignant, and this was, and ironically enough, between myself and Ethan Phillips. Because on the show, we have the relationship between our two characters, which is is contentious on occasion between...
on occasion?
On occasion, yeah.
I mean, every time you guys are in a scene together,
every time we run into each other, it's like...
Yes.
But I think when we first got to... The very first time we got to the set as a cast, we were invited to come in and to the studio lot, and the producers were going to take us around and show us the sets that we would see for the first time. And I remember I parked in the big tank out front, and Ethan Phillips was there, and I had just met him at that point in time, and we were both going to the same place. So there's a big long alley that goes all the way up and down the side of the studio soundstage that we worked on. So we walked from the car to the soundstage down this long alley, and we were just talking about, you know, we're about to get on board this ride for potentially 7 years on this series, and we kind of speculated on what it would be like, you know, on the show. And at the very last day that we would be cleaning out our trailers at the end of 7 years, we both cleaned out our trailers at the same time, and we walked back down the alley together for the last time, and we reminisced about the 7 years that just took place. So that was very cool. I never forgot that moment. It was really wonderful.
Wow.
Really wonderful.
Tim, why are you trying to make me cry, huh? Tim, what are you doing, man? That was a sense. I don't mean
Absolutely.
it was great, Rebekah. I don't mean to hijack your panel, but I just want to ask
Please.
Tim, can you please share the story when you were overseas in your hotel room and your TV wasn't working?
Oh, yeah.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that too. I was in Alicante, Spain, southern Spain, and the hotel I was staying in, the TV went on the blink. It was just snow or whatever, and we called a technician to come in and help us fix it, and they came by, and he's messing with the antennas and the cables and whatever. And I'm just standing next to him. He's doing all of a sudden that screen comes on, and it's Voyager. And it's my character speaking in Spanish. And he looked at the TV, and he looked up at me, and they looked back at the TV, and they looked back up at me, and then he took off running down the hallway to go tell everybody that I was on the television. I kid you not, I could not have planned that. I mean, how random is that? It just happens to be Voyager, and it happens to be me while I'm standing there.
He ran down the hallway. Senor Tuvok is here! Aquí! Aquí!
Okay. And I've heard my character's, you know, voice in Spanish, and I've heard it in German, which is really interesting.
Does the Spanish guy sound like you? The Spanish dubber?
It's a low pitch, you know.
Okay.
It's better than the German. The German,
really?
That's super low, and it's like.
Oh, so he's real low.
Captain. Oh, okay.
Well,
right.
My German one, my voice, he's going through puberty. He's like, ja, Kapitan, ich habe eine. Horrible. And then Tom Paris, he's like, ja, Kapitan. And he does not have Barry White voice. Tom Paris is high. Harry Kim has a lower voice register. But in Germany, they're like, no, we cannot have the Aryan-looking one. Look, have with the Z. I'm messing with you, Germany. We know the war is over. Germans get really, really, really offended when you talk about World War II and what they did. You know, they don't like it. So I love you. Ich liebe Deutschland. Yeah, okay.
That show is very, very popular. Mostly in Germany, especially in Germany.
In England, too,
and in England,
right? The Brits love it.
And also in Australia.
Yep.
Somewhat in Italy, and that's basically it. Those are the countries that it's the most popular in. Interesting. Well, Canada.
We got some Canadians over here.
We just consider you another state. That's all. We don't even. I'm kidding. All right, I'm gonna say this. Listen up. Listen. I've incited a rebellion on the last night. Okay.
Aren't we supposed to be buying Canada or something?
No, don't go. Are you doing an impersonation of somebody in office? Okay, all I'm gonna say right now is Megan. who that's my partner. She's Canadian. She always reminds me. She goes, you know, when Canada actually went to war with the U.S. and we sacked the White House. Do you know that? Like she always tells me that story. So Canada gets the last laugh.
Yeah, when I think of a foreign country, I don't think of Canada as a foreign country. It's just above us.
You guys are cousins.
English, yeah.
You're our cousins,
You're
right?
our cousins,
We don't think.
absolutely.
Yes.
You're supposed to be our friend.
Yes.
Last I
Please.
checked, you were our friend.
Yes. Don't sack our White House again, please. Just leave our White House alone. Okay.
Yeah, actually, no, do sack the White House while he's there.
They told us nothing political, team.
Oh, yeah.
Ay, ay, ay. Okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Rebekah, please ask him something else.
What a segue. You know, I before I ask, I do have a couple questions about the show, but I do want to transition real quick. Had the lovely opportunity of chatting with Tim over lunch. On the first day, we randomly got sat at the same table. And I said, oh, hey, by the way, I'm going to see you again in a few days. He said, oh, who are you? It's okay, it doesn't matter. But you shared with me some amazing, amazing photos that you took yourself. I actually have them here.
Oh.
I was curious if you wouldn't mind talking through what you're seeing, or what we would be seeing.
Absolutely.
And sharing a little bit more about that. I actually put all of them in here. So.
Oh, you did? You did?
I did.
Oh, my.
Oh, my. It's after this one. This one's,
Yeah.
there we go.
Yeah, that is, it's a galaxy. It's called the Fireworks Galaxy. It was imaged. I have a telescope that does imaging.
I want them to be able to see, so...
Yes. And it's a fireworks galaxy. They called it a fireworks because there are a lot of supernovas that go off in that galaxy. A lot of stars that explode. So,
that's cool.
Over the period of years. And so that's why they call it that. It's a spiral galaxy, not unlike our Milky Way. Yes? And that is the Eagle Nebula. That was imaged by the Hubble. And you'll notice in the center, the Hubble had a very close-up picture of what those are called the pillars of creation. And that's where star formation is occurring inside that nebula. It's an emission nebula. It's a very large gas cloud. And it's like a couple of light years across. It's enormous. But that is where the star formation. That is called the Dumbbell Nebula. That is a planetary nebula. It's basically a star that has shed all of its outer layers of gas, like our star will do when it dies. That's what's left over. Hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, helium, all those gases that cause those colors. Yep.
These are all images from your telescope?
Yeah,
is that
from
right?
mine, yeah.
You look at the top left, it says Tim.
Yep, Comet Neowise. It passed close by a year and a half, 2 years ago. I was able to image that comet as well. I think this is a long period comet. It might be another 300 years before it comes back around. Fascinating. I love the comets because those, they're always coming in and out. They're all different sizes and shapes and things, so they're great. That is a supernova that is located in the Pinwheel Galaxy. And these are local group galaxies. They're not that, they're in our sort of area around the Milky Way. And that is a supernova that went off and stays that bright for about 2 months or so. So I was able to catch it and image it. So that's going to be, over time, it's going to become a very large nebula as a result. Yeah. Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
There's one more thing,
That's
and
an
I
asteroid.
wanted to include this because this actually came up day 1, day 2 during the panel, and this came up last night during the Talking Trek podcast, if anybody was tuned into that, but this was brought up, and you were sitting there so patiently, and you didn't get to share about it, but I wanted to hear about it.
Yeah, this is the asteroid Nereus. It was a near-Earth asteroid, which means it's at one point in time it'll cross Earth's orbit. Hopefully when we're not there. And it was a pretty good size asteroid. And I was able to image this as well with the same telescope as it's zooming by. There's always 1 or 2 of these that are coming by at any given time, and we can, put the scopes out and try to get them. But that's what it is. It's called Nereus. That was the name of that asteroid. Yeah.
Very, very, very
So cool.
Thank you.
No worries.
You notice how he said that like it was so Vulcan and badass. He was like, this asteroid will probably come in contact with Earth. Hopefully, we're not there then. It was very, very, very dry and Vulcan-like, but I love it.
It's been a hobby of mine for over 35 years, and
the entire time on Voyager, Tim was already Tim was like, I've just purchased my 38th telescope, a magnification. I can see to the Delta Quadrant with this one. I mean, it was crazy how much you were into it. I would even joke. I would go, that's Tim Russ's come on line. Would you like to see my telescope? That's how he invites women to a date like that.
Yeah, I've been doing it for a long time. I did it long before long before Voyager. I've been doing it for, it was like 35, almost 40 years. So,
but Voyager money made you able to buy real powerful.
No, I mean, even the projects I've worked on before, some of the telescopes, a lot of them that I have, are not that terribly expensive. The one I have right now that did all this, yeah, that one cost a few bucks for sure.
Just curious, what's a few bucks?
$4,500.
For one telescope?
Yeah, for one telescope, yeah. But...
Can you spend more than that on a telescope?
Yes, you can, absolutely. Okay. But that one, I didn't have to pay for. I actually represent the company, so...
Well, look at you.
Yeah.
What's that company called? Get that plug in right now.
Unistellar EV scope. They are amazing, yes.
Nice.
Very cool.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
speaking of the time on Voyager, I've always been curious watching from the very, very first episode and then all the way through and the time that, you know, the characters, the crew were stranded. How do you feel individually that your characters changed and evolved throughout those years? You know, the first episode, Harry Kim's very eager. You know, this is his first real voyage. And Tuvok is initially with the Maquis, you know, undercover and comes back. And over time, you see, you know, bonds formed and friendships evolve. But internally, your own character, this is a question for both of y'all, but how do you feel that your character evolved
Tim,
over
you want me to go first? Or you want to go?
Yeah, you can go.
Okay. Yeah, Harry Kim is a blank canvas. He's just graduated from Starfleet Academy. This is his very first mission that he goes on. He's trapped on the other side of the galaxy. This is supposed to be a 2-week mission, like just to run this new Intrepid class starship through its paces. That's all. But Harry's gone on his very first mission, away from home, away from everyone you know. So he's a blank canvas in the very beginning. And so for me, it was great because I could kind of paint him the way I wanted to paint him and develop him. My biggest issue was the fact that when we try to add some emotion to our characters, we got a memo saying you need to reshoot that. So this is the one thing that I kind of contradicted with their mantra of playing your human characters more two-dimensional. So, but over the years, I was slowly be able to change Harry to a more mature and responsible character. But he starts off as the youngin', you know, he's the young kid, and even Tom Paris has to help him out in the beginning. But as time goes on, Harry then matures, and he ends up being the wise one when it comes to dealing with Tom and helping Tom out in a way, right? I think Harry and Tuvok have a really interesting relationship. Tuvok really kind of gives Harry a lot of crap, I would say.
Sometimes.
The smile.
Sometimes.
Ensign Tuvok, you're absolutely right and absolutely wrong. But the best thing Tim and I would do is Spock inside of the warp core.
Oh.
And I'm Kirk, right? And I would sit there and I was like, Spock! And then remember that you did this? You'd bring your hand up and...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'd pretend we did this on the show! We did this often, and he was like, you said the famous words, Jim.
Will always, be my friend. Well, I will always be your friend, yes.
Yes. Yeah, that one. That was cute.
Our relationship was not nearly as contentious as mine is with Phillips.
Neelix, no.
At all.
No.
And the difference, it really, you know, like Garrett's talking about the fact that my character has a family and children compared to Spock's character, and
we see them a couple of times.
Yes,
right?
we do. Yeah,
T'Pel, right?
And T'Pel, and also in the episode Innocence, you get a chance to see how he might have been a father to his children. It's just an indication of how he might have reacted to them. And that, because we were not in Federation space, if we were in Federation space on the Starship, our missions would probably, they'd be a lot more routine. And we know all of the species that are there in the Federation, and we're taking care of this and doing that. Instead of being in the Delta Quadrant, where anything can happen and everything does happen, on this long journey, not only being lost, but now we have to encounter all of these crazy, different alien races and situations that we would not normally be in. So on that little island, I think Tuvok's character, he would never, go on about missing his family, but he had to. And he had to, and because of the types of encounters that we had, he was able to grow, I think, a lot more, I think, than if he had been in Federation space.
Yeah,
that's for all of us, right? Because of all of the challenges that we had to face that we would not normally have had to face. So it's very interesting. And the writers will tell you, and Brandon mentioned it before, that based on what we do as actors carrying out these roles, that's what the writers key in on, and they start to write for you.
I want to talk about all the different species new species that we encounter in the Delta Quadrant. They had again, a blank canvas. They can do anything.
Anything.
But they gave us the Kazon, okay? They could have done anything. But here's the thing. The Kazon would have worked if they had, instead of doing the crazy big fro, if they made that into like Predator dreadlocks, that would have worked way better than that. And the things in the hair was dog chew, what do you call it, the pig ears?
I talked to Michael Westmore.
I know.
Westmore came up with the design.
I think he was on vacation. Someone else did it for him. And he was like, fine. I just came back from Hawaii. I don't have time.
But the producers had to sign off on all of that. Yeah,
so basically it's Berman.
It's all the producers, the people at the very top.
It's Berman that made us have a horrible Kazon hair.
They said, okay, we're going with that. Okay. Yeah. The Kazon. They couldn't find water, as it were. Yeah.
They could. Yeah. They're so advanced. They have huge ships, but they can't make
find water. Come on now.
Yes. H2O.
Yeah.
You mentioned, actually, I had this in my notes, but you mentioned about Tuvok's family, and that comes up several times throughout the series. How do you think Tuvok handled that privately? They never really show it on screen. Do you think in meditation, maybe writing holo letters for later, or do you wish that had been shown more?
It would have to have been a form of meditation, absolutely. Because like I said, he was never going to demonstrate to anyone how much, or discuss with anyone how much he missed his family. But he had to. And he had to, as he does with all of his emotions, he had to deal with them by through meditation to keep those feelings and stuff to himself. And because, everyone on that ship, was missing someone back home. Everyone on there. It wasn't just him. So we could sort of dissipate that loss and the missing folks amongst everybody. Everybody's on the same situation. So I think that would help sort of diffuse his own personal loss as well, because you've got to stay strong, you've got to stay diligent, and know that you're not the only one that's in that situation. Yeah.
Absolutely. They mentioned, first episode as well, going to Harry Kim's character. He's like, my parents. And you brought the clarinet onto the ship with you. And there are several mentions, of course, of you missing your family, especially when Voyager's starting to receive letters and things like that. And he's so excited. Where's my letter from my parents? Where's my letter from my parents? Did you use any of your relationship that you have with your parents, who are here this week, amazingly, to draw from for those emotions and how you were carrying out those scenes?
Absolutely not, actually. I love my parents, but I don't think I really used them in the process of. In that particular, that's horrible, isn't it? I didn't use them at all. No,
I didn't think about them.
Now, of course, we always use. Yes, we use. If I'm talking about leaving them, I think about them. Of course, if you're an actor, you're trying to use access true emotions, so you have to think about
real emotions.
Yeah, real emotions. You have to think about situations that you've been in that are real to sort of help you out with that, for sure. Yeah. But the whole clarinet thing. I was so mad when they did that. They called me a week before I had to play the clarinet the first time, and they said, "Hey Garrett, just to let you know, next episode, a week from now, you'll be playing the clarinet." And I said, "What? You'll be playing the clarinet?" I said, "I don't play the clarinet." They said, "Oh, we have a clarinet teacher. We're gonna bring a clarinet teacher in for you." I said, "Oh, thank you. How long? How many lessons?" They said, "1 lesson." 1 hour. I said, "Are you kidding me?" They said, "Well, what do you need?" I said, "You're gonna okay, I'm supposed to learn an instrument in 1 lesson? I'll learn how to assemble the clarinet, maybe, how to wet the reed. I'm not gonna even learn, maybe I'll learn how to make a sound, but I'm not gonna learn how to play it in 1 hour." They said, "Fine, what do you need?" I said, "As much time as possible." I spent 17 hours with that guy trying to just get to, because I wanted to make sure that I fingered every note correctly. Because anyone that plays a wind instrument can watch and go, "That is not a G flat, he lied to us." So I want to make sure it's perfect. But I kept thinking they did a disservice to Voyager, because for me, I'd rather focus my attentions on my acting, on what I have to do, not have to worry about playing or fingering all the notes correctly, where they had a perfect person, a really good musician already. It should have been Tuvok playing the Vulcan lute or something, right? I mean, a little Vulcan guitar, dude. It would have been great. And you would have loved it, and you would have been able to do it basically like breathing. It's nothing. Music is so you already.
Yeah, but I had to defer to the Doctor and his opera.
Oh! Oh my gosh. I can just see Tim walking up to the producers. Yeah, exactly. Tim's like, "Yeah, I'd like to come and play the Vulcan lute in the next episode." And all of a sudden, Bob Picardo, "Excuse me, hello. Let me just stand in front of you. You don't worry, you don't mind, do you, Tim? Anyway, the Doctor should be singing Italian opera."
Italian opera.
Is that what happened?
Nope. But he did beat me to it.
He beat you to it.
Beat me to it.
He took the music component out of there. He was like, "Poop."
Right, gone, finished. Yep.
Gosh darn it.
That's the Bob.
That's the Bob.
That's the Bob.
You've been bobbed, basically.
That's
Ooh,
it.
that doesn't
it.
sound good. Okay. Sorry, Rebekah. Go ahead. This is why Tim doesn't like to do panels with me, because I just go so off track. He's like, "Let's just get to the business. Let's just get right to the point, please."
No, I've been loving it. Y'all have been touching on working with the other actors on the crew, and someone joined us this second half of the week, Kate, and the captain. The captain arrived, and in the show, both of y'all have unique bonds with Janeway.
Mm-hmm.
She refers to you as Starfleet's finest, and she refers to you as her most trusted confidant. How was it like working with Kate and establishing those bonds between your characters to just really nail it, really get it right? Was there anything off screen that y'all did, or was it really just, hey, we already know what we're doing here, and going by the directors?
Yeah, well, initially, and this is, I think it was in the first season. I think it was the first season.
Yeah.
Kate and I were working together. It was like, I don't know, hour 11 or 12 for the day. One of those.
Yep.
It was late, like it was Thursday or Friday night, and we'd been there all day long and into the evening, and it was just tiring. And there was a scene, on the bridge where there was a lot of debris from an explosion. Little pieces of cork and stuff that's laying around, and it was just she and I was sitting across from her, and I just picked up a piece of the cork, and it was just, tossing it up and down, and I said, I'm just going to bean you with this before we shoot. I'm just going to hit you with it.
Huh?
And she said, "Don't you dare." Well, I had to after that. So I beamed her with it just before we started rolling, a couple of times. And then when I went back to my trailer to change into my civilian clothes, my street clothes, they were not in my trailer.
The moral of that story, don't mess with Kate.
I went to the wardrobe person. I said, "Matt, have you seen my clothes? So Matt went over to Kate's trailer and found my clothes in her trailer. I said, okay, right. So the next morning, or I think it was that evening, it might have been that evening, I got Matt, I said, Matt, let me see your Polaroid camera. Go get your Polaroid. Oh, no. We had the Polaroid cameras all the time. All right? And so I had Matt take a couple of pictures of my bare ass.
Oh no!
About 4 or 5. And I put them up in her trailer. So when she opened the door to her trailer the next day, my ass was everywhere. And then when we had the episode where we were stranded on the planet, we were left stranded on the planet. And at the time, Kate had a scene where we're standing around and she has to describe that we may end up eating, you know, mealworms or whatever it might be to survive. And she has a handful of the damn things. And before a take, she dumped them down the back of my uniform. And did I mention they were alive? So I had to stand there through the whole take while they're wiggling around in the back of my uniform. It was at that moment that I called a truce. That is a real story. That's how my relationship with Kate was.
And that was the end of the Janeway Tuvok Wars.
That was it.
Yes.
That was it. That actually happened, and she can verify all of that. Absolutely.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
When you said we were gonna eat, you know, you paused before you got to mealworms and you turned towards me. I thought you were gonna say Ensign Kim.
No.
I was like,
Although, if the time came to it,
ah!
Lieutenant party.
Lieutenant Commander Tuvok, how dare you? You would consider eating your friend Ensign Kim?
Hey man, when the times get tough, you know what I mean. But yes, the relationship was with Kate was great. She's such a man. She's such a pro, and Garrett knows. You know, when you're working with Kate, as far as an actor goes, she never ever messed up her lines.
Yeah, like in 7 years, it's
frightening.
Crazy.
That's
she never
frightening.
went up on a line.
You don't understand how that just doesn't happen, man.
And then when we go up on our lines, like we're distracted, Tim or I, Kate will give us this look. She'll be like,
I think that relationship between she and I is great. We got a chance to really explore it in flashback, and I think that was the episode that one of my favorites, working with George Takei, and to be able to have the backstory for his character and her character to demonstrate that. That was really a wonderful episode. Wonderful writing as well. So,
Tim, do you remember when the first panel, when you had the first Voyager panel, the fan came up and was saying, yeah, you did such a great portrayal of Tuvok. You're actually better at being a Vulcan than Leonard Nimoy. And right when he said that, the whole room went like that. And even Tim went, well, now, wait a minute. Hold on that roll there. Hold on there, Nebuchadnezzar. Yes, you were like, yeah.
Yeah, he was going just fine until
we can't save you, sir. Parachute out now.
I very much appreciate the compliment. And
it was amazing.
No problem whatsoever.
But it's true, though, Tim. You are a damn good Vulcan. And whenever you have, every scene you do, like, you focus the entire time. There's not a moment where I'm like, okay, he's not a Vulcan. Even when you're not on camera, you're still a Vulcan to me, man. You really are. You're killing it. You're so good.
That would be the testimony of some of my friends. They said, yeah, you didn't. That's nothing, man. That's you all the way down the line. So, okay, there's a little bit of the character in me. That's perhaps the case. I could use a little bit more of the Vulcan patience when I'm on the phone with AT&T customer service. But I challenge Tuvok to do that call, okay, and maintain. I challenge him. Yeah.
That could be like a reality show, just watching you deal with customer service. Everyone's like watching, what's he gonna say? Oh my God, will Tuvok curse? Oh my goodness.
Logic would dictate.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Rebekah. I've been all over the place. I have to apologize. We went to
absolutely
cannibalism earlier, which is horrible, so I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, really.
It was bad.
Best panel ever!
Yeah.
No, I've absolutely been enjoying it because I've always been curious, especially as this is my favorite series. I've been very, very curious about just those bonds on and off screen. You know, you were just talking about bonding with Kate, and we briefly chatted a little bit about Harry Kim and Paris. How did you know in the beginning that y'all would have that bromance that would bloom and blossom throughout the years?
Yeah. Well, it started because I first fanboyed over Robbie when I saw him.
kidding.
Yeah. So it was
Masters of the Universe.
Yes.
Yes.
So we were between the makeup or hair trailer. I was there that day. It was with a friend of mine, Holly, an actress friend of mine. We walked over, and Robbie walked out, and a PA said, "This is Robbie McNeil," and I said, "Oh, Masters of the Universe." Hello! I was so excited to see him because I love that movie. It's a cult film, basically,
cult
right?
film, yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
And then same thing with Beltran. When I saw him, I was like, "Oh my God, Night of the Comet! I love it! I love you!" So Robbie, right off the bat, I was immediately enamored. Like, it's him! Wow! Very excited to work with him. And then we just had a good chemistry on set. He was like my big brother in real life in a way, right? So kind of teasing me a lot, you know, here and there. But on set, we had a good chemistry, worked really well, and I just think that Paris and Kim are is probably one of the best duos in Star Trek, in my opinion. It just they fit well together. Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah, but I thought I was going to hang out with him all the time. But the man had a wife and 3 kids, 3 young kids.
Correct.
So every day after work, I go, "Hey, Robbie, what about, we're about to wrap. Do you want to go grab a beer?" And he would go, "Oh, you know, I got to get back to the kids and the wife and the higher register of Tom Paris, right?" And I kept saying, "Oh, that sucks." I asked him every day for 3 years and nothing, ever. Then I gave up. At the end of year 4, we wrapped and Robbie goes, "Hey man, want to go grab a beer?" I'm like, "What? Me? I'm the bride, not the bridesmaid? What? You're asking me now?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Why now?" "Carol and the kids are out of town." I go, "Yes! Damn you, Carol!" And the kids. So I was so happy to finally, I literally hung out socially with McNeil once in like 7 years. And that was,
Well, you know, the thing about it is that, you know, that is not uncommon. It was not uncommon, and certainly with our show. We didn't really hang out socially while we were working on that show. Everybody, when we got done working, man, we went home because we were exhausted or tired, had a bunch of dialogue to learn for the next day or whatever, and we were also older. Garrett was the youngest cast member we had. Everybody else was older. They had kids and a family and all this good stuff, and that's where you had to go back and, you know, and go home. So everybody usually just bailed and went home.
Right.
Whereas if everybody in the cast was like, you know, 18, 20, 22, whatever, then it's party time all the time. So that's not what our cast was.
but you did hang out with Ethan though sometimes, right?
Very rarely. Especially not after we got through working, because he's got the makeup
And what
on.
were all the stories I heard about you and Ethan? I honestly, I heard about like, oh, Tim and Ethan, they went hang gliding together. And I was like, that's cool.
Like on the weekends, we might, like when we're not working. Or if he had a light episode, because Ethan wasn't heavy in a lot of the episodes.
Right, so I'm saying you guys did stuff on the weekend.
After about 3 years or so, yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
a lot. They were really good buddies, and they were just random things like, oh, Ethan and Tim, they during the weekend they made pottery together.
No,
Like, just
we
like
didn't do
random.
that.
You guys would do stuff.
All we did was paraglide. We did do some.
All they did was that's all.
Well,
They just-
but that was
they just-
like on a weekend. We just get together every other weekend or something if we could.
I get it, but that was incredible for me to hear that Tuvok and Neelix were I imagine them in their makeup paragliding together.
Oh, wait a minute now, yeah. We were not in anybody's costume, but
Right.
but we didn't.
Oh no.
Tim doesn't want to hear that name. He doesn't want to hear it.
It's cool.
Speaking of,
I'm I'm sorry, Rebekah. I'm going to send you a gift basket after this. I promise. I'm so sorry. Or a fruit basket.
You should. Yeah.
I do love fruit, actually.
You should.
No, speaking of, and not to dive into the two Vics, but along those lines, did you have any idea at the time of filming that episode would become a center point of a conversation later on? I feel like that episode just blew up.
It did blow up, yes. I did. It was because we were not, neither myself or Ethan were really involved in an episode, because they hired Tom Wright to play that role, and Tom was brilliant. Yeah. And I mean brilliant. In point of fact, when I was waiting, when I read for the role of Tuvok for the producers for that show, it took a couple of days before they would confirm that I was hired for that part. And during that time, I was up for a role, the lead role in one of the episodes of Tales from the Hood, which is a trilogy of horror stories. And I was up for one of the lead roles in one of the trilogies, and they were waiting to hear back from me. They had made an offer to me to take the role they had given him. And I was holding off because I wanted to hear back from Voyager, as I'd rather be on Voyager for potentially 7 years than to do one feature film. And when I accepted the role, they ended up hiring Tom Wright to play that role. That was on Tales from the Hood. He played that role in one of the short stories. So for him to come on board, and I knew him personally. He's a very good actor, and he's a very nice guy, sweetheart.
Tim, did Tom Wright audition for Tuvok?
No, he did not.
Thank God.
He didn't audition for Tuvok, but he came on to do that role, and man, let me tell you, that was a grueling week for him. Because not only does he have a shit ton of dialogue that changes every day, but he had to play us switching back and forth in characters right in the middle of a phrase or a sentence of dialogue. Yeah. Right in this, and I was reading this stuff and I thought, oh my God, how's he going to do this? And he pulled it off flawlessly. And it made so much sense to use a neutral actor to play both of us. Right. And of course, the question of the day is whether or not, yes, the captain had the right to do what she did. And of course she did, because she's the captain. And her duty is to her crew, the safety and welfare of her crew.
So you agree with Janeway? Absolutely. Okay.
It's the captain's responsibility.
I understand.
Is to her crew, and that's it, man. Everything else is, and also the burden of command is also the captain's. She has to make that decision. Nobody else.
Tim,
it's just the way it is.
Are you okay that I believe the other way?
You'd have to debate that with this
only because
right
of one thing. Tom Wright was so amazing, and listen, he was so personable, and he's very handsome too.
Absolutely.
So I really was swayed towards this actor. That when he played, but when he left, I was like, oh, you're leaving?
He played the hell out of that thing.
He was so good.
The hell out of that role, and he was very convincing, and it made it that much harder for her to make that decision. What's the look on her face when she leaves the sick bay after putting us, separating us? You see the look on her face when she walks down the aisle?
Yep.
She didn't say a word.
No.
It's all right here.
Yeah.
Devastated by what she had to do. Devastated.
Yeah. And you got a week's worth of vacation is what you got. You didn't have to work at all.
I did have a vacation.
You did.
Yes. Yeah. Very easy week for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Tom Wright's dying and you're off in Hawaii.
He's working and I'm taking it easy. It's all good. Yeah, paragliding.
You're off paragliding with Ethan Phillips?
That's when it happened.
That's when it happened, yeah. They had the whole week off. They had a paragliding workshop conference.
Damn right.
Yep.
Along that line, though, very, very difficult episode overall. Fantastic acting from all involved. Fantastic acting in the entire show. What would you think to yourself, looking back now, what would have been the most challenging scene for either of you to perform?
There's a couple for me. I think one of the most challenging was in Meld, when all of the restraints for his emotions are taken away and he goes off on the captain in the sick bay, because he is out of control, and I'd wanted to be able to play that moment and make it believable at that time. And also at the very end, when we're doing the finale of Tuvok, who has lost his mind. He's got dementia.
Yes.
And we had a couple of scenes that we had to play where he's just going crazy. And that was a challenge also, to try to see how are we going to portray this Vulcan character who's suffering from this dementia. So those were two of on opposite ends of the whole entire 7-year series. That's interesting.
Are you talking about the scene in Meld? Are you behind a force field?
Yes, that's right, in sick bay. Holy moly, yeah.
That was good. And that's also when you started doing the funny thing off camera. You're like, release the chicken wings! Remember that?
Yes.
Release the chicken wings. It means nothing, but it was something funny at that day, basically.
It was funny that day.
Yeah? You guys are like, why would you say that? Yeah, that's bizarre. That was a good episode for you, Meld.
Yeah, Meld was, and that was right in the first season.
Yes, it was.
Right out of the gate, man.
Yeah. I had the hardest time doing the scene with Janeway where I've met Taryn Dahl, the alien woman who I've fallen in love with, and I have that huge conversation with Janeway, which is, Captain Janeway, do you even know what love is? Have you ever been in love? Like that whole speech I have, right? Yeah. But it was so emotional that I kept going up on a line. And remember, we already said, if you don't know your lines, Kate's going to give you the sideways glance. So, but I did know my lines. I just got so emotional, I almost hyperventilated over and over again that I kept going up the same line. And so that was the hardest scene for me to film because I couldn't keep it focused enough as a professional actor to maintain it. And then Kate was like getting frustrated with me too. So she looked at me and she goes, if you can't remember it, just paraphrase it. I'm like that, and that did not help me actually. So I ended up kind of storming off the set, which was really sad. And I was in my trailer. I was actually crying. Actually, it was really bad. But then she heard that that had happened, and so she came out and she came to my trailer and we talked and everything, and it was good. So then I was able to go back in and get the scene done. But that was really rough for me. So because I was getting mad at myself too. I was like, God, what are you doing? You're acting with Kate. Make sure your best game is on there. If I'm acting with Tim, I don't care. But I'm acting with Kate. I really. No, I'm kidding. I try to act as good for you too, Tim. I do.
Sounds like he holds the paragliding grudge.
Yes. You know what? Why didn't you ask me to come paraglide with you? I would have loved that. No, seriously, when I heard it, I'm like, really? Neelix and Tuvok paraglided? No kidding.
That was Philip's idea. He came to me.
He came up with it.
Yes.
So I'm going to tell him. I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. Then. Okay.
You've got another day, right? He can't get off the ship for another day.
Yeah.
No, as we're kind of wrapping up in our last few moments here, just really want to point out the writing of Voyager really tackles some really, really hard topics. And there have been they do so many parallels to real life situations, and they leave that to the audience to gather and to learn from. What do you think was probably your most favorite, I guess, lesson that the audience got to learn from an episode?
Oh, there may have been a couple. It was one of your episodes about the civilization that believed that their deceased were going up into this heaven.
Oh, emanations. Yes.
Emanations. Okay. I thought that was a really powerful concept. In terms of challenging
the afterlife.
Yes,
right?
The afterlife, and challenging this whole entire civilization about what was going on. I got a chance to direct Living Witness, which is also one of my favorite episodes, and dealing with...
That's the one you directed. That was a great one.
Dealing with revisionist history.
Yes.
Because in our actual history, a lot of times the stories are written and told by those who are the victors, the people who won. Mm-hmm. So you're only seeing it from that perspective. How much truth and how much real information do we have about what happened in the history of a number of the civilizations that we've had? We don't know all of that in detail as much as we do today. Today is the most recorded moment in human history is today. Everything is recorded. So how much of that in the past is accurate? And in that story, an entire culture within this civilization is treated a certain way based on the misinterpretation of what happened in the past. And that to me was very, very striking and very interesting. And just in terms of the stories, how you learn about how a culture can exist, how civilization exists, and how relevant the past and knowledge of the past is. So, and these guys the writers they come up with such interesting, fascinating concepts, and that has always been Trek, by the way, always been Trek. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Before I answer that question, I'm just thinking of the image of when Neelix was leaving the ship, and you were like, "Mr. Neelix," and you did the little foot thing for him like that. It was so very touching of your character. Yeah, that just came to mind. But in terms of episodes, Rebecca's question about episodes or lessons, allegories, there's not one specific one, but I just will say that just Star Trek as a whole, all of the Voyager episodes, the golden era of Trek, let's just say TOS, TNG, Voyager, DS9, Enterprise, that era, all those episodes having that underlying message really is just what everyone should be watching. Star Trek should be must-watch TV for every human being on this planet. I personally feel that one way to solve much of our ills is just to basically handcuff all the world leaders to a chair and force feed them Star Trek every single episode until they come out. Can you imagine that? Like Putin's sitting there watching everything. At the end, he's like, "Okay, I'm done fighting everybody. Let's get out of Ukraine. Let's go. I love everybody now." So
everyone, we're going to go to Azov.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
it is. You're right, Garrett. I mean, in point of fact, if the world. The leaders of all the countries, once you reach the point where they all are on the same page and all of them have the priorities of their people, their
humanity,
the families of the people, the children of these people, of their people, and that becomes the priority, that's when the things will change. Yeah. It's not the population, it's the people who are in charge, man, who are running the show.
Yeah.
Those are the folks that you have to deal with. And I think that, in Trek, we've dealt with stuff like that before. And had the main thing, I think I've only caught a few of the episodes of DS9 and even TNG, Next Generation. There was the one with was it Toss, the rabbit that is the character that's running is being chased.
From DS9, right?
Yes.
Tusk.
Was it Tusk? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the reptilian guy.
I was just fascinated by that episode because of the storyline, because our sensibility and our morality comes into play. We're trying to impress that upon this person. We're going to protect you from the person that's coming after you. Well, you don't understand.
Yeah.
That's important. That's part of our culture. That's the way we do things. And that, is such a striking contrast to what we think is this, and it turns out to be something entirely different. And having to understand those differences is what it comes down to. Having to understand those perspectives are very different, and you have to wrap your head around those. You can't just go stomp it in there with here's what I got to do and here's what we're going to do, and it's And the human race is, man, it's about as complex as it could possibly be. You know what I mean? And it's been millions of years of evolution, and we still got another million years to go, I think, is what's it's going to be, before we get there, right?
Can you imagine all the first world country leaders all being told, you have to go on Star Trek The Cruise, and Trump's at the Rise party, oh, hey, just getting people all getting like, yay!
Oh, my God.
That'd be pretty crazy, that image. Like woo!
Ouch. Yeah. Yikers. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. And thank Rebecca for moderating us as well. Thank you.